In this video, Thomas Sowell shares on a very interesting topic that has been gaining momentum in the past few years. I think Kanye West made this very popular, but this one is titled Thomas Sowell on the Rise on Anti-Semitism Around the World. Check it out.
And most people, when they have a choice between hating others and hating themselves, they hate others.
You have a chapter, that's the first chapter is black rednecks and white liberals. The second chapter is, are Jews generic?
Mm-hmm.
Why the jump from black rednecks and white liberals to are Jews generic?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point?
Well, this book is really about ethnic and cultural issues in general. So there's a chapter on the Jews, there's a chapter on the Germans, and then there's a chapter on history in general. So they're lumped together because they're all cultural ethnic issues. And we move on to the Jews simply because it's a fascinating story, because among the middleman minorities, of which the Jews are the most prominent, the hostility to these people in countries around the world is out of all proportion to any other kind of group I can think of. In terms of violence, the number of Chinese killed, let's say, in 1 year, and by mob action, exceeds all the blacks lynched in the entire history of the United States. And the number of Armenians killed in Turkey, during the First World War, is greater than that. And of course, the number of Jews slaughtered on a number of occasions in history, even before the Holocaust, is greater than that. So that the question is, why this particular kind of people are the targets of so much venomous hatred? And I think the answer is that they not only succeed, they succeed in a way which is a threat to the egos of other people. That is, no, you can envy a Rockefeller.
They succeed in a way that is a threat to the egos of other people.
Which is a threat to the egos of other people. That is, no, you can envy a Rockefeller, but he's no threat to your ego, because you say, listen, anybody can be rich if he's born a Rockefeller. But the guy who comes here, let's say from Vietnam or Korea, and arrives here with little more than the clothes on his back and a few words of broken English, and a decade later he has his own little business, and you see his son a few years after that getting ready to go off to Harvard or MIT, you've got to ask yourself, you either got to, you've got to hate yourself for saying, my God, I've been stagnating, this guy was nothing and now he's risen up, or you're going to have to hate him. And most people, when they have a choice between hating others and hating themselves, they hate others.
Where does the hatred for the Jews come from in history?
That's a very interesting point. I never thought of that. I guess that might be the problem some people are having with a lot of immigrants. Yeah, we saw like xenophobia in South Africa a few years ago, where they had problems with some Nigerians, saying Nigerians were taking their businesses. Some even said they took their women. But yeah, we saw that might be true actually. So he said the Jews grow in a way that make other people hate their ego. Yeah, I think that's factual. I never thought of that, but I think that's factual.
Number of places, but they are people who have succeeded an awful lot in the midst of other people who have not. Years ago, one official of one of the Jewish organizations in New York asked me, well, what can Jews themselves do in order to minimize the hostility they face? I gave him a one-word answer: fail. Because as long as you succeed, you're going to be hated.
So the source is success.
It's not only the success, it's the success starting in poverty, as the Jews did in the United States and in many other countries. And so you not only see them succeed, you see them rise up from the bottom, past other people, and the people they've passed don't like it. But there's also the fact that the role they play economically has never been understood. They're middlemen or they're money lenders, and the argument is they really aren't producing anything. You can't see anything tangible, that they don't stand at a production line turning out widgets. And so the argument is that they're not producing anything. They're simply gratuitously inserting themselves between the producer and the consumer, and they're parasites, essentially. And this argument has been made, again, not only about the Jews, but about similar groups around the world. And in a number of places, they have expelled those people or forced them out by mob actions, forced them to flee. And after they left, the economy has collapsed. But it never teaches the lesson that, no, they were doing something.
According to a history of the Jews in the United States, staggering numbers of Jews in the decades before and after the Civil War first experienced America through peddling, which became the nearly universal American Jewish male experience. While Jewish peddlers worked as isolated individuals, their supplies came from a wider network. Each peddler functioned in a long Jewish economic chain linking shopkeepers to Jewish wholesalers in the larger cities on whom they depended for credit. The Jewish peddler on the road served as the agent of the Jewish town shopkeeper and the big city jobber. This trading network depended on intra-communal trust. Wholesaler and peddler understood each other, spoke the same language, and knew the same people. Jewish wholesalers in port cities from New York to San Francisco supplied Jewish peddlers with merchandise which they carried on their backs into the hinterlands, to farmers, miners, railroad crews, and others working far from the big cities, and often in places where there were few or no stores. Peddlers, of course, also worked in cities and in every region of the country, from the southern plantations to the California mining camps where Levi Strauss first began to sell the rugged trousers that were to make his name famous. While Jewish peddlers often worked in isolation among a non-Jewish population, they were nevertheless tied to a wider Jewish community, not only by commercial ties to Jewish wholesalers and manufacturers, but also to family members in Europe and America. They often saved money to pay for transatlantic passage for relatives in Europe to come and join them. These savings at some point
They're successful together.
also allowed the peddler to set up a little shop in town, settle down, get married, and raise a family. The wives and children then worked in the same little business. Often the Jewish shopkeeper or other small businessman and his family lived above or behind the store. Milton Friedman's family lived this way when he was growing up, a pattern that he described as common among the immigrants to America in that era. Yet this pattern was by no means confined to Jews or to America. Similar economic and social patterns could be found among the Lebanese in Sierra Leone and among other middleman minorities in other
Indians. I see this pattern in Indians. They come to like Canada, they work hard, stay together, become successful, bring their families, get married, stay in one house, and all of them put funds together and buy real estate. I know people like this actually. They put money together, buy real estate, and the house they are living in, they own it, and then take the equity, buy more, and take the equity and buy more. But they stay together. You see like 8 people staying in one house, and you're like, why is there so many people in one house? Well, they have more than one, but they're using the rest for business. I've seen a family, I think I was watching a documentary the other day where a family came together, and from both sides, the wife side and the husband side, they put money together. They bought one gas station, and they bought another one. I think now they have about 6 gas stations. So yeah, the Indians are adopting this too.
other parts of the world. The overseas Chinese storekeeper in the Philippines was likewise willing to live in a small corner of his store. As among the Jews, Lebanese children were initiated into their family businesses in the United States, as were the children of other middleman minorities in other countries.
Yeah, that was very, very smart. Very, very intelligent thinking. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but it does make sense. They succeed in a way that it hurts other people's egos. And I think that is true. Somebody comes from their country broke with one bag, and you see them be broke. The next thing they're driving a Ferrari. You're like, bro, how? I've been here my whole life and I don't have a Ferrari. What are you doing? Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. Let me know what you think about that. If you have anything to add, correct, or critique, feel free to share in the comment section. But I kind of do agree. Yeah, I do agree, because not even in America or the Western world, I've seen this. Like I mentioned a story of the xenophobia in South Africa. I've seen this happen in Africa too. I think in Ghana there was I'm not sure about this, but there was some internet thing that was trending where some Ghanaians were like, oh, Nigerians are how you're building stores and, taking the businesses and doing this and, acting like they are smarter than everybody. And I don't know if that was actually a thing of Nigerians misbehaving, or it was a thing of Nigerians actually being more successful than the locals. It could have been either, but I've heard speculations that are consistent with what Thomas Sowell just said in this video, and because of that, I do agree what he says. Let me know what you think. If you disagree, if you have a point to add, if you want to critique, feel free to do so in the comment section. Smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.